You walked in. Nobody moved. Not rudely, not obviously, just nobody moved. The conversation didn't shift. Nobody made space. You stood there for a second too long, and then found your own spot, like you always do, and you told yourself it was nothing. It wasn't nothing. Here's what actually happened in that room. Before you said a word, before anyone knew your name, your job, your story, a decision was already made about you. Not consciously, nobody sat down and thought about it. It just happened. The way it always happens, automatically, instantly, based on one thing, what you looked like, not your face, not your body, your signal, the shoes, the posture, the way you walked in, slightly rushed, slightly uncertain, like you weren't sure if you were supposed to be there. That signal broadcast something, and the room received it loud and clear. Low priority, move on. That's the part nobody says out loud. Machiavelli said it though, 500 years ago. He said people judge almost entirely by appearances, that everyone sees what you seem to be. Very few ever know what you actually are. Most people hear that and get uncomfortable. They call him ruthless. They call him cynical. He was just honest. And honestly, the room you walked into last week proved his point better than any book could. Now let me be specific, because looking poor isn't just about money. That's where most people misread this. It's not about the price tag. It's about the signal. It's the slight apology in your voice when you ask for something. It's the way you laugh at your own point before anyone responds, just in case they don't. It's the over-explaining, the hedging, the I could be wrong, but that's the signal. And it says one thing clearly: I don't fully believe I belong here. And people take you at your word. Think about the last time someone walked into a room and the energy just shifted. You felt it before you could explain it. Unhurried, clean, like they had somewhere better to be but chose this. People turned. Conversations opened. Space was made without anyone being asked to make it. That wasn't charm. That wasn't charisma in the movie sense. That was signal response. The room reacted to a perception before a single personality trait could register. Now think about the opposite. Someone who walks in a little too fast, a little too eager, clothes that don't quite fit the room, energy that reads, I hope this goes okay. The room doesn't close on that person. It doesn't reject them. It does something worse. It just doesn't open. No hostility, no drama, just low priority bandwidth, like being on mute in a conversation that's happening right in front of you, and that person spends the whole night working twice as hard to get half as far. You've been that person. You know exactly what that feels like. Here's where it gets darker. The world shouldn't work this way. Shouldn't judge you on a signal before giving you a fair shot. And you've been betting on that shouldn't for a while now. Betting that if you stay consistent, stay genuine, stay good, people will eventually see you correctly. That substance rises, that the real you will come through. Sometimes it does. Eventually. After a lot of friction and a lot of wasted rooms. But Machiavelli would look at that strategy and say, you are playing a game without knowing the rules. Because the rules aren't substance first, they're perception first. Always. And if your signal is off, you're paying an entry fee that other people aren't even aware exists. You're starting every room already behind and calling it fair because nobody told you otherwise. That's not a lesson. You already felt this. You just hadn't let yourself think it clearly. And here's the mechanism nobody talks about. When you signal low status, even without meaning to, it doesn't just change how others treat you, it changes how you treat yourself in that room. You get quieter. You wait longer before speaking. You shrink. You pre-apologize. You make yourself smaller before anyone has even had the chance to dismiss you. And the room sees that and updates its read on you. Downward. And now you're smaller. And now the room responds to smaller. And now you shrink more. Loop. Locked. You didn't choose to enter that loop consciously, but you've been in it, probably more than once. Actually, no. Let me rephrase something before this gets twisted. This is not about faking it, not about performing wealth you don't have, not about becoming someone else. That's a different trap. The person who only performs without anything real underneath, they get exposed. And when they fall hard. What this is about is narrower than that. Removing the signals that create unnecessary friction. There's a difference between not having money and broadcasting that you don't. There's a difference between being new in a room and performing nervousness in that room. There's a difference between being humble and reflexively making yourself invisible. One is your situation, the other is a habit, and habits can change. Machiavelli had a concept he called virtù. Not virtue like morality, virtù like effective force. The ability to shape your perception deliberately, to prevent unnecessary disadvantage, to stop handing the room a story about you before you've had the chance to tell your own. He watched people with no resources outmaneuver people with enormous ones, purely through this, through the decision to project certainty before they had proof of it, through refusing to let the gap between where they were and where they were going show on the surface. And he watched brilliant people, genuinely capable people, get ignored, overlooked and sidelined. Not by enemies, not by conspiracies, by their own signal, by the story their presence told before they opened their mouth. Let's talk about what that actually costs. Because it's not just the obvious stuff. It's not just job opportunities or missed connections. It's something slower, something that builds. When you spend enough time being low priority in rooms, you start to believe it. The treatment starts to feel accurate, like the room is seeing you correctly, like the low energy directed your way is a fair reflection of your value, and then you start doing it preemptively. Before anyone's had the chance to dismiss you, you've already made yourself small, you've already overqualified the idea, already laughed it off, already left the exit open, just in case. That's not insecurity, that's a trained response, trained by enough rooms that didn't open. And it quietly follows you into every new room, every new situation, waiting to run the same program. That's the real cost, not the room you lost, the rooms you'll keep losing because of what that room taught you about yourself. And here's the layer that really should bother you. The people who benefit most from you not knowing this are already in the room. Nobody who's already positioned well has a real incentive to explain the rules clearly. They'll tell you to just be yourself. They'll say authentic people rise, and they believe it, because their authentic self was already shaped, trained, and polished to match the room. Of course it worked for them. Their real self was the right signal all along. Yours might not be. Not yet. And pretending that's not the case isn't optimism. It's how you stay invisible. Look, you've been in those rooms. You know what it feels like to work harder than everyone else and get less. To say something that lands flat, then watch someone else say the same thing 20 minutes later and get a response. To be present in a conversation, but somehow still outside of it. You noticed all of it. And you absorbed it and kept going, because acknowledging what was really happening meant acknowledging something uncomfortable. That the world you were told exists, the fair one, the meritocracy, the one where good things come to people who deserve them, isn't quite the world you keep walking into. Machiavelli wasn't cynical. He was tired of the gap between what people believed and what was actually happening around them. He wrote The Prince because he wanted someone to finally just say it straight. So here it is, straight. The room will judge your signal before your substance, your appearance before your character, your posture before your portfolio. Every time, without cruelty, without even noticing, like it's just how things are, because it is. The question was never whether that's fair. The question is, you know this now. You've probably known it for a while, somewhere underneath. So what exactly are you still waiting for?